This stigma of living with your parents is society's ultimate form of gaslighting. Now, this is a topic I really wanted to touch on for a while now, but I just really haven't gotten to it yet. But now we're gonna do it. Now we're gonna talk about how dumb this stigma is and how dumb society is for expecting, for this even being a thing. Like, it's just insanely stupid. Now, think about this. You're born into a world without any choice in the matter, without any say, really. And then you're just kind of told, all right, now that you're here, here's a checklist of all the things you need to accomplish. And you're like, wait, why do I need to accomplish them? And then you're just told, because society said so. And moving out is one of these things. Yep, moving out. And nowadays I think they want you to move out at 22, 23. I mean, it used to be 18, but I guess people woke up a little bit to realize that's kind of unrealistic. At least some of us. I know some parents still kick their kids out at 18, and those are evil parents, y'all, I'm telling y'all. But yeah, even 22 and 23, it's extremely hard to move out. Now, I've been to college, I have work experience, I've done things in my life, and I have not moved out yet. I'm 23, I'm turning 24 in a few months, and the reason why I haven't moved out yet, well, a few reasons. Number one, I do not make enough money to move out. And that's with me going to college, with me having worked, a handful of jobs, some of them corporate jobs, some of them were just retail jobs, and some of them were warehouse jobs. But I have work experience, and this is with me being skilled in a number of areas. Like, I am skilled with numerous softwares. I'm good with a computer. I can type at 120 words per minute. I don't even know if that matters, but I'm gonna just include anything, I'm gonna include anything. But yeah, I'm skilled at all of these things, but the most I could get was a 22 an hour job, which full-time is not even 40, well, it's like 45K a year. And the only money I make is from that job and YouTube and an extra side hustle. And it's kind of crazy how I have to rely on something as unreliable as YouTube. That's kind of funny way to say it. I have to rely on something that's an unreliable source of income in order to increase my quality of life. The thing is, you can't just get it, you can't just be average anymore in this world. The days of just getting any job and just doing, average and being able to succeed, it's just not possible anymore. In order to move out, you need to make a lot of money. And the thing is, the only way you're going to make a lot of money these days is if you have some sort of specialized skill, or which will take years of schooling and, like nursing, being a doctor, even software engineers, dude, they make a lot of money, but they're all getting laid off anyway, and I don't think they have a future. Personally, that's just my opinion. But they're just, and not only that, I feel like if you don't have a specialized skill that will take years of schooling to learn, the only other way to make a lot of money is, just to move up the ladder. And moving up the ladder takes damn near forever. Like, some people start at, entry-level jobs, they work their way up slowly, and then boom, once they're 40 years old, yay, now you finally made 70K a year. And then once they're 45 years old, all right, now you made 80K a year, good job. It's like the realization that this sort of money, like 80K, 100K, like the realization that it's so out of reach for me, it's kind of powerful, man. It's kind of hit me hard, because I thought I'd be able to make that much money, if I just did what I was told by society, go to school, do this and that, but it just wasn't that simple, dude. Like, with my combined income, like, if I were to, working full-time at, my hourly rate, 22 an hour, and then combining my side hustles, that would be like 50 grand a year. or something like that. I mean, I'm pretty young, so I don't really mind. I don't really mind that much money, but if I want to get to the point where I want to move out, it's just unlikely. It's just not going to happen. I mean, technically I could, but even if I did, do you know what would happen? I'd be living paycheck to paycheck. But apparently, people do not mind living paycheck to paycheck, as long as they can say, "Look at me, guys, I moved out. Look at me, I'm not a loser." This always pissed me off, because this entire notion of moving out, this entire thing, the only reason a good chunk of people even do it is so they don't get seen as a loser. That's it. Many of these people, they don't really even have a problem with their parents. Deep down, they know that they're better off, just saving money. And, if you did move out, again, good for you. I want to move out too, but I feel like most people are not ready for it, and they just do it anyway. Like, I don't think I'd move out if I'm not making at least $6,000 a month. I'm not even joking. And you know what's crazy? That's more money than most people that have already moved out. But my reasoning for that, dude, I just cannot justify spending all that money, giving it to a landlord, a rich landlord, for a damn 1-bedroom apartment. I just cannot justify it. I don't care if I'm making like $4,000, $5,000 a month. $4,000, no. I need at least $6,000. And even then, I'm not going to spend that much money. I'm not going to go looking for places that are $2,000 a month. I'm just not. I refuse to pay that much money to a landlord. But guess what? If you're like me and you don't want to pay that much money to a landlord, guess what you are, according to society? A loser. You're a loser. And think about this. So many people in various situations, various circumstances, people could be helping their parents out. People could be making a bunch of money, but they still choose to live at home anyway. There's all sorts of, situations and circumstances people could be in, but all of that is completely disregarded, and everyone's just called a loser for living with their parents. Everyone's called a loser. You can be living with your parents because it's culture. That's kind of the case for a lot of people. I know people from Asian countries, like India, China, South Korea, places like that, they don't even move out. Like, they just, even though they get high paying careers, they don't even move out. Like I don't know, I think that's the culture. And I don't know, I guess it makes more sense. It does make more sense in a lot of cases. I want to save a lot of money. I want to have a lot of money saved up, and I'm going to move out when I'm ready to move out. It's not that I can't move out. It's just that it's not a wise financial decision for someone like me, who's, barely over 20 years old. But I'm a loser, guys. And the crazy thing is, at what point is someone a loser for not being able to move out? There's people that move out at 25, and they're called losers before they get to 25. But it's like, wait, what? So they're a loser before, but now that they moved out, they're just not a loser? Like, society is just so dumb. It's just so ridiculous. They don't take into account your circumstances. If you don't fulfill these things off of society's checklist, then you just don't mean anything. It doesn't matter how good of a person you are. It does not matter. It does not matter what kind of work you do. You could be taking care of animals. You could be helping starving kids. You could be volunteering and helping society in various ways other than just having a job. But if you live with your parents, you're a loser. This doesn't just apply to living with your parents. Like, there's so many other things that are a part of this checklist where, regardless of anything else you do, if you don't fulfill one thing, then you're mocked, you're belittled, you're called a loser. It's crazy, the system. It's crazy, dude. Like, bruh, I just don't understand. Why does everyone have to be so shallow? Why? I just don't get it. If I saw a grown man living with his parents, which I know plenty of grown men that live with their parents, and not a single one of them are losers. But if I saw like a grown man living with his parents, I would assume, there's probably more to the story than just, what society assumes. Society would just be like, oh, he just doesn't want to work. Well, he could have a job, but the job doesn't pay enough. Society could be like, oh, he's just lazy. He just wants to sit at home and leech. Well, he could be paying all the bills. Shit. The home could probably be his, and the parents are living with him. Nope. None of that matters. None of that matters to society. And one thing I have a problem with is people that live with their parents that, instead of realizing that this stigma is complete nonsense and, they shouldn't subject themselves to these unrealistic expectations, instead of realizing that, I mean, by the way, if you want to move out, you definitely should. I'm trying to move out, but again, I said it's an unrealistic expectation, unrealistic thing for a reason. It's just not realistic for many of us. But yeah, the problem with people is that they bring themselves down and they reinforce this toxic cycle. Instead of saying, wait, this is kind of BS. Why am I being criticized for living with my parents? What the heck? Isn't that normal? It's not even my fault that the job market sucks. I went to college. I did all this. I did all that. I did everything society told me to do. And I can only end up with a damn, 45K a year job. Like, that's not really my fault. I mean, and the funny thing is, even with all of that, I still know one day I will not only move out, but achieve the things I want to achieve, Like, I don't care about the age society expects you to achieve these things. I don't care about that. I'll achieve them when I can. Like, this is my journey, you feel me? This is my path. I don't care about society saying, oh, you're a loser if you haven't done this yet, even though I know I'm going to do it eventually. I don't care about all that. But people don't have the same mentality as I do. They bring themselves down. They reinforce this toxic stigma. And then once they actually do end up moving out, even though they were in the position of, being, insecure about living with their parents, they do the same thing those other people do and call other people losers for living with their parents. It's absurd, man. Everyone's so brainwashed by the system. What the heck is going on? And I actually knew a guy just like this. Give me a second. So I knew a guy just like this, actually. He studied computer science in college, and he moved out. He moved out at 22, right out of college, got a 100K job. And he was the type to, he kept asking me, dude, when are you going to move out, man? When are you going to move out? I'm like, when I make enough money to, whenever that is, It's not a race. Life's a competition, but it's not a race. I'm gonna get into that into what I mean by that in a minute. But he kept basically making these jokes and saying, oh, you haven't moved out yet, oh, you're behind. Like, he was trying to joke about it, but I know deep down he was judging me, and it wasn't really a joke. And you know what ended up happening to this guy? He got laid off. I think like a year and a half after he started his job, he got laid off, and he had to move back in with his parents. And now guess what? He's still unemployed, because the job market, if you're a software engineer in this job market, it's not a good job market to be a software engineer, and I'm gonna just say that. But yeah, the same guy that was making fun of people for living with their parents, that same individual now lives with his parents because he got laid off. Oh my god, my scooter just fell. Isn't that kind of like crazy? But that just goes to show, like, even if you do move out, like, even for the people that do everything, they move out, there is no such thing as job stability. There's no such thing. You could be laid off. These companies don't care about you. And guess what? Once you're laid off, your landlord doesn't care about you. They're not going to be like, oh, you got laid off. Okay, I'll give you like 6 months to give me that money. No, they're not going to care. They're literally just going to kick you out the moment they realize you're worthless and you can't pay them what they want. They're literally just going to kick you out. And this guy experienced the wrath of the system. And the funny thing is, like, Well, I actually don't know if he's going to return to that, to being like that, to calling people losers and saying dumb stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe he is, but maybe this is going to open his eyes, you know? But yeah, if you live with your parents, you're not a loser. Not even close. You know, again, what I was saying about life being a race, life is a competition. Life is a competition, but it's not a race. Yeah, that's what I said. And we compete for everything in this world. We compete for damn near everything. I mean, everything revolves around money, which is essentially just a number on the screen, a digital screen. And in order to obtain that, every job application you're competing with hundreds upon hundreds of people. It's like a bunch of slaves just saying, please master, give me these scraps. Like, think about it like this, you know, back in the days when they had like these small villages and like one guy ruled over the whole village. Kings and queens, you know, in Japan it was like those feudal lords. We're just the slaves begging the masters, the lords, the kings, the queens. We're the slaves begging for scraps while they live in comfort. They're living lavishly. Like, it's so absurd. We're begging for $20 an hour from companies where the people at the top are making $20 in 1/1,000,000th of a second. $20. Yeah. They make much more money than we'll ever see in our lifetimes, and we're over here begging for scraps. We're living in the completely broken system. And instead of supporting each other through it, instead of realizing how broken it is, we fight each other and we call each other losers, even though, you know, it's not really our fault that most of us can't thrive, you know. I mean, sometimes it is our fault. Like, I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not saying it's all society, you know. I'm sure if I studied something like nursing, I'd be able to be a nurse and I'd be able to make, you know, 90, 100K. But that's just not who I am. I don't care about the money, right? I do not care. I don't care, dude. I don't like nursing. I don't like any sort of career. I don't like anything. The only thing I want is a damn job that pays, you know, a living wage. But that seems even impossible to get. Like, even with all of my added incomes, like if I were to like include all of these incomes, right, it still wouldn't be that comfortable of a wage. Like, it's crazy. I mean, I know, I guess I do have time to get other jobs and stuff like that, but I feel like you just can't be average anymore. Again, like, technically I could study something like nursing and stuff like that, but I don't want to do something just for the sake of money when it takes years upon years to actually get a job in that field. That's just not who I am as a person. I know plenty of people like this. They're just studying something just for money. And the thing is, they're gonna burn out anyway. They're gonna study something for years and years, not really because they want to do it, just for the sole purpose of making money. And it's like, that's just not the life I want to live. I don't care how much money I make. I don't want to spend the one life I live, you know, stressing about a career. Because again, these career jobs like nursing and being a lawyer, that's your whole life. Once you get that job, that's your whole life. Like you can't relax, dude. You have to work all day, every day. And it's so much more complicated than your average job. Some of us just don't want, you know, we just don't want that. We don't want life to be that complicated. We want to live a simple life. But we're just thrown into this world and we're expected to live a life that's just full of complications and, oh, you should do this and you should go to school for this for 10 years so you can become this. It's like, no, I want to do what I want to do, you know. If I ever make enough money from this YouTube stuff, you know, I mean, I could just take any job at that point, like any regular paying job, supplement it with YouTube, and I'd be fine. But even a regular paying job is just, it's just impossible, man. It's impossible. Again, after college, after all that, $22 an hour, bro. Like, what's that? What's that? You feel me? Yeah. Life's a joke. The system is a joke. And we're just tired of it, man. We're being made fun of because we haven't moved out when it's not even our fault. The system is crazy, dude. The system is crazy. But yeah, anyways, I don't really have much more to say. One last thing before I end this video. Last video was kind of garbage, I'm not gonna lie. Last video was kind of garbage. I kind of just had a lot of thoughts on my mind. I'm like, wait, why don't I just make a video? I mean, that's just me all the time. Every video is impulsive, pretty much. It's just all impulsive. I just stopped by this park on my way home. I'm like, wait a minute, I can make a video. So that was me yesterday, and the video was pretty bad. But people still watched it. I hope you still enjoyed that one, even though it was kind of low quality. I hope you enjoyed this one too. Anyways, I'm gonna be heading home. Yep, back to my home with my family because I'm a loser and I don't live in my own apartment. I'm a loser because I don't want to pay $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. Like, I keep repeating this in my head. Like, how do we get to a point in society where one bedroom is $2,000 a month? How do we get to that point? How? I just don't understand. It's crazy, man. Like, we're not even asking for much in this world, and the world is just like, oh, you want the bare minimum? Oh no, you're gonna have to go through this and that to get the bare minimum. It's like, bruh, well, better off just never having, existed in that case. What a terrible life we live, guys. What a terrible world we live in. That's the better phrase to say. But yeah, just a rambling video. Nothing really to say now. See that trash can right there? That's life. Just garbage. Absolute garbage. Anyways, I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace out.